This caucus certainly supports Governor Stitt's desire for a turnaround. We think that's a position that we have been taking for several years now, with devastating cuts that have taken place to state agencies. We were confused by his comments on health care. When you compare those to the comments that he gave the press just last week when he seemed open to accepting federal funding for expansion, today I'm not quite sure what he said, but he seemed much more hesitant on that topic. This caucus firmly believes that it is far past time to accept our federal tax dollars to insure more Oklahomans. We hope that the governor hasn't been affected by political pressure from his own party. We saw that happen with Governor Fallon in 2011. She decided she was going to accept the money, and then she did a complete 180 when told to by leaders in her party. We hope that's not what's happening with Governor Stitt. We think that as a businessman, he knows that when you have a 9-to-1 match, you take that deal, especially when it's going to help the state as much as this program would. We know that there's this argument out there about, well, we can't trust this federal money. But then you look at the governor's executive summary and his budget, and we're very happy to accept federal money when it comes to transportation, when it comes to education, when it comes to many other core services. And so we think it only makes sense to do the same in healthcare. The agency head conversation, we fear that that is a return to political patronage, that the governor will be able to put his friends and supporters in those positions when they may not be qualified. So we are very hesitant to endorse that plan. Criminal justice reform, we were very, very encouraged by the governor's strong support of criminal justice reform, endorsing legislation that this caucus has filed on licensing reform. We would have liked to have seen more specifics when it comes to criminal justice reform. The governor didn't seem to endorse any other specific policies other than allocating $1.5 million to a specific very good program in Tulsa. But we also know that there are needs when it comes to criminal justice reform in all areas of the state. This caucus sees criminal justice reform as going hand in hand with increased funding for mental health and substance abuse services. And we didn't see that from the governor today. We can't let people out of prison and not provide them with the services that they need to ensure that they don't end up back in that situation. And when it comes to preventing ballooning prison populations in the future, we have to make sure that people have access to the mental health care and substance abuse care that they need. Let's see. We didn't hear a few things. We didn't hear anything about a state employee pay raise. That was something that was left out of the legislation last year that this caucus really hopes we can get done this year. Most state employees have gone 10, 11 years without a pay raise, and we think that should be a priority this year. The governor left a lot of money on the table, and he put a lot of that into the rainy day fund. And while we think that saving during good times is important, we think that you have to pay your bills before you can start saving. And we have a lot of bills to pay. We have education needs, we have mental health needs, we have corrections needs. We heard about a teacher pay raise. While we certainly supported teacher pay raise, we didn't hear much about classroom funding. And so we think that is a critical need for our state, and we look forward to crafting a budget that takes advantage of the revenue increases that this caucus supported last session.
We were pleased that the governor talked about criminal justice reform. This is something that our caucus has been supporting, as you all well know, for the last 3 to 4 sessions. Senator George Young, who is the newest member, one of the newest members of our caucus, has been involved in criminal justice reform in this state for years, even before he was in elected office. So we are pleased to have his expertise and to have his institutional knowledge on this subject. We do believe, however, that no discussion regarding criminal justice reform can be complete if you're not discussing how the courts are funded. As you all know, currently courts are funded through fees and assessments. This needs to change. The district attorneys and the judges we invite to the table so that we can discuss this and come up with that portion of criminal justice reform that we believe needs addressing. We were pleased and very encouraged by the governor's enthusiastic support of education. Last year was a good start for education in Oklahoma, but it can't be just a start. We've got to continue. We agree that teachers need to be paid more. We do, however, also acknowledge and are hopeful that the governor will acknowledge this, that we have got problems with class sizes. We still have overcrowded classes. We have supplies and books which are dated. We have a lack of support staff, especially counselors in our schools. So those are still educational issues that need to be addressed. We are concerned about the proposal for the consolidation of more power into the governor's office. As you all know, right now, the governor has the power to appoint the boards and commissions, which he does. He then, in the past, they have relied on those appointments and the expertise of those agencies and boards and commissions to do the hiring and firing of the directors. We believe it's a good system, we believe it's worked, and we believe it provides stability. We are also hopeful that the governor will still be open to Medicaid expansion. This is something that Oklahoma taxpayers need to seriously look at. For 10 years now, since Medicaid expansion has been online nationwide, those 10 years, Oklahoma taxpayers have continued to send their federal money back to the government, which then gives it to other states all around us to subsidize their Medicaid expansion programs. We need to bring our money home. We need to be using the money to help Oklahomans. We understand the concerns that the governor had as far as the program and the tax dollars drying up. It's been 10 years. The tax dollars haven't dried up. The states that had Medicaid expansion have Medicaid expansion. It's been 2 years since we've had a new president. The federal dollars haven't dried up. The states that had Medicaid expansion still had Medicaid expansion. And also, the concern is, if we're concerned about losing tax dollars, federal dollars, let's just look at the history we've got with some of our agencies. Our top 12 agencies take millions and millions and millions of dollars of federal money every single year. If you look at the governor's budget, ODOT is slated to get $714 million. Department of Health, $193 million. So we've not been adverse to taking federal money in the past, and we need to be open to it in this situation. Health care should not be a partisan issue.